Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get the horizontal, we're going to get the vertical alignment, angular alignment done first. Remember, the angular alignment is the most important thing. And so there's a few things that we need to really take into account for is how far over or how far the measurements we're actually taking, okay? And then what the difference is between the two measurements, okay? So we've already taken the time and we've gotten these things lined up, side to side, which would be horizontal as much as we can. And now you can see that there's a gap on this side. And now I got to take a couple measurements over here, and then I have to do some math. Now we're going to do the math together, but before we do the math, I'm going to open up these here, and you can see again that they're graduated, and you'll know like what you're dealing with just by looking at the number. Like you have two numbers, you have the inches, which is 0.15, and then 0.381 millimeters. Okay, so that's what you're going to be looking for. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have to work, and I'm not going to spend the whole time taking the time to do this, but we're going to measure like right here, for example, and I know that moved, this would all be bolted down, and I'm going to keep trying to put these in, okay, until I find one that is just touching. Okay, that's just touching, and it's at the 3-inch mark. Okay, so I'm going to jot this down. I'm going to pretend that this is 14,000, so I'm going to go 0.014. I'm jotting that down, so that's on the low side here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm assuming that the other one's going to be bigger, so I'm going to go over and bump that up, and then I'm going to take a measurement over here, and that doesn't quite touch yet, and then I'm going to take another one. Let's see, we'll go a little bigger. That was 18. Let's go to 4, and I'm going to hold that on there, and I'm going to go and okay, 24 goes to there. I think I'm going to go a little bit thicker, and I'm going to go to about, jump up to 30 and see what that's like. And I can see here, oh, it stops right there. Look at that. Okay, so I have 30 thousandths, and the difference between the 3 and the 6s is 3 inches. That's very important for me to note because I had 14 thousandths here, and then I had what I said 30 thousandths over here. Okay, so now I know over 3 inches, I had that difference. So let's go ahead and play with this a little bit and see what it looks like. I'm going to back you up. All right. And we're going to come over here and take a quick peek at my math, if it'll allow me to do so. All right. So I have, very simply, I have 14 thousandths that I recorded. Okay. And then that went over 3 inches, and then I had 0.030. Okay, so what I can do is I can figure out what my angular misalignment is by very simply taking the big number 0.030 and then minus 0.014, and then I end up with 0.016 thousandths of an inch. So this right here is my vertical misalignment, but that's over 3 inches. Okay, now I need to compare it to something. So what am I going to compare it to? Oh, okay, well, I got to compare it to what I actually am going to need to change in order to make it work. And in this particular situation, what I'm going to do is I got to know what the difference is between where I'm bolting this and where I'm bolting this. Okay, so the two mounting positions and the distance that they are apart. Okay, and that's what I'm going to use to get my shim ratio. So I'm going to take this, and this isn't a great illustration, but I'm going to go between the holes here, and it looks like 8.5 inches. So 8.5 is the number, okay, that I'm going to be using. So let's get back over here to our paper and see if we can make this make sense. So I'm going to go to 8.5 inches. Now, what does all this mean? Well, we're going to hold on to this information for a moment, and we're going to take the 3 inches and the 8.5. The 8.5 is what I'm going to change. So that's going to be, I believe it's called the L1, and then you have divided by L2, and this is going to be your L2. So it's going to be 8.5, and that's going to be divided by 3 inches. Now, this right here is going to give you your SR, which is actually your shim ratio. Okay. Now, once you have your shim ratio, it's very simple to do the rest of the calculation. You take the SR, okay, and then you multiply that by your angular misalignment, which is 0.016, and that is going to give you the amount of shim needed. Okay, and that is going to be to correct the angular misalignment. So what am I saying is that basically if I have 16 thousandths difference between here and here over 3 inches, then I need to shim a certain amount from here to here over this 8.5 inches. And then once you've calculated that shim, figuring out what side you have to put the shim in, you put it here or here, you're going to know right away as soon as you start moving it, oh yeah, that's right, it needs to move this way. And in this case, the number was greater here. So that means that that this is going to have to go down. So that means that this side is going to have to go up. So that means that your shim that you calculated is actually going to go in here. Now, once you've done that, you're going to fasten it back down and do the same test again. Make sure everything else is in alignment. So that is the quick and crude way to get the shim and shim ratio in order to get the angular misalignment taken care of.